Welcome back, everyone. Less than a week ago, a Dutch man was sentenced to 13 years in prison for the sexual extortion of BC teen Amanda Todd. But how common are cases of sextortion across the country? And more importantly, how can we help keep kids safe?
Our next guest is here to shine a light on this really difficult topic from Toronto Police Services Internet Child Exploitation Section. Please welcome to the show Detective Michael Sabadin. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Detective, it really is a difficult day in particular for the entire police force here in Ontario. So really, I want to thank you for being here and taking time to talk about this. I want to start at the beginning. For those who don't know, break it down for us. What exactly is sextortion? What does that mean?
Yeah, for sure. And again, thank you for having me. And sextortion essentially is when someone threatens to distribute intimate images for certain demands.
What are some of the more common ways that this can happen?
Yeah, so there's a few common ways that this happens. One of them, not necessarily a sextortion, but I think is as important, is what we call peer exploitation. And essentially what that can be is when you have people in an intimate relationship, and if something goes wrong and they split up, and then the other person distributes their intimate images or shares them with other people for revenge or whatnot. Going back to the sextortion, there's, I guess, two types of sextortion that I look at it as. You have sextortion where someone makes demands for monetary gain. If you don't comply with their demands of giving money, they'll share the images and whatnot. And then you have, again, demands for possibly more images or to possibly meet up for sexual services that if you don't comply with that, they'll share your intimate images.
It's just a parent's greatest fears, you know. And I think we always often think of Canada as a relatively safe country, but when it comes to sextortion, obviously, this knows no borders. So let's talk about how big of a problem is it right here in Canada right now?
Yeah, I mean, we look at all these types of investigations as borderless crimes, and we currently have a large increase in these types of reports that we see, not only in Toronto, but also nationally and internationally. And it seems to be quite common with teenage boys between 12 and 18 years. And it's unfortunate because we're seeing instances where a lot of these cases are causing individuals to commit suicide.
So I think people would be surprised by that as well, that it's predominantly where you're seeing more and more with teenage boys being sextorted. I think that is an interesting...
Yeah. A lot of people, I think, with these crimes think that it might be more so girls and whatnot, but we're finding that it's more so teenage boys.
Now, and then, so in terms of, is it mostly adults who are taking advantage of kids or teens, or like other teens and kids doing it to each other?
So we're seeing both. So when we go back to the peer exploitation, we're mostly seeing that that's youths that are sharing the images and involved in that situation. And I think it's important to note in that kind of situation, if you're someone that's receiving images from either friends or for group chats and then resharing them, that is a criminal offense. I think children should be aware that that's a criminal offense. And by further sharing these images, you are re-victimizing these people each time that you do it. Mm-hmm. Now, when we go over the sextortion side of things, we're predominantly seeing that that's more adults posing as children to try to lure the children and gain their trust and get their images, and then they're sextorting them with those images.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about the issue of self-exploitation? I don't even really know exactly what that means.
Yeah, and this is probably one that a lot of people don't know about, but we're seeing a large volume of kids as young as 4 years old that are on YouTube and TikTok that are exposing themselves online. And I think it's important for parents to know from a young age to educate their children about using devices, educate them about the internet and about social media.
So here's the big question then, like, how can parents and caregivers protect their children? I mean, this is an online world.
It's a very different world, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing to start off with is communication, to have open communication with your children, be that trusted parent that they can go to without judgment. Also, to have strict rules from early on in regards to possibly restricting the internet access at certain times, cutting the internet off at night, not allowing your children to take their devices into private places, such as the bathroom and whatnot. Also, at the end of the night before bed, possibly have a storage station where you can keep your devices so they're not taken to them to bed with them.
I mean, some of those things, you know, seem very reasonable, but I think to single parents who might be working multiple jobs, who may not have a handle on exactly what their kids are doing. Is there anything else people can do? Is there anywhere the schools are starting to also be made aware of this to help out?
Yeah, it's very hard to navigate this field sometimes, but cybertip.ca is a platform where parents and kids can go to find advice, to find educational materials.
I know for me, I've also talked, even at my son's young age, just about kind of who you're interacting with. Do you know who that person is? And also trying to, part of this piece that we're not even talking about is shame, is that people are afraid of being shamed. And so talking about that no one can get a hold of something and be able to shame you, that to come to us first.
It works because of shame.
That's right.
Right, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, what do you think that parents should do if they do suspect their child's safety may be at risk?
Yeah, again, it comes back to start off with communication, letting them know that they're not at fault here, that this is something that we can deal with together, that they're not alone. Also, if they are still communicating with this person, cut off that communication. But I would suggest don't delete the activity or the information, because that's something that us as police, we would like to know. And then also from that, it's one of those things where I think the main thing is not to share your images online, to teach kids to do that. And I know some kids will still do that, but it's not necessarily that their image is out there forever. Once it goes, you don't know where it goes and you don't know who has that. But again, cybertip.ca, the Center for Child Protection, they have developed this program that essentially is called Project Arachnid. And essentially what it goes, it crawls the internet and it looks for your image on publicly available websites. So for example, if you have an image that finds its way on an adult pornography site and this program finds it, they'll send a letter to this site saying you have illegal content on your server space, you need to take it down immediately or action will be taken. And that kind of empowers getting that image back. And that's something that's important to know, because that's why we like to have the image preserved, and we can take that and do our investigation and help try to get that stuff back. Again, cybertip.ca is a very good site for parents and students to learn more about this problem.
Detective Sabadin, thank you so much for being here and for sharing this information with us. Once again, that website for anyone looking for more info is cybertip.ca, and we'll be right back.
Hey there, wasn't that great? Do you know where you can find some equally good content? Our YouTube page. It's filled with discussions, debates, and some laughs. Head there now, like and subscribe.